So the first thing is you got to pick your square, and you can look at the ones that came in your kit, and you can, you know, kind of play with turning them around and deciding like, oh, what could this be? This kind of looks like actually like a tunnel and like train tracks going into the tunnel. Maybe I could make like a landscape out of this. Or it also kind of looks like a clamshell. This one kind of looks like coral reef. This one is just kind of a bunch of, oh, you know what, I bet I could turn this into a dragonfly wing. So the first thing is you're going to pick what it is that you want to draw, right? Then I'm going to go with this guy for the clamshell. Then I'm going to place it on the paper, and I recommend, you are going to glue it down eventually, but I wouldn't glue it at first. I would just kind of set it down like this, and then do your tracing of your lines first. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see what I'm doing here a little bit better. So I would do just the edges. Sorry, I still have my marks from when I did this before. And what I mean by that is I got to get this to blend, right? So every time I see something where I'd want to indicate that that line is going to continue, I would go ahead and add that. And I haven't glued it down yet because I might change my mind. I may not want to do this after I get going with it. I might decide to do something different. So there's some little lines here. I'm just going to make, they're kind of blurry, so I'm going to make some indications as to where they go, but I'm not going to make them super dark. But these are all the edges I have to match all the way around the square. So I have to kind of know where it lines up. I'm going to make this into a clamshell, so I'm going to let that one come out and curve up. And I want you to notice I'm making all my marks super light. I'm not adding any shading. I see a lot of students make the mistake of just glue it down and then start going in with their shading, and then they change their mind and they've got a whole lot to erase. So I make super light sketchy marks to start this. I'm going to zoom back out here. And then I kind of try to decide where I'm going with the picture. So this one, I was going to turn it into the clamshell, so I'm going to continue this sort of curving line with that, and then maybe I'm just going to play with this continuation of this. And then maybe I get into it and I'm like, you know what? I have no desire to draw a clamshell at all. I don't even know why I'm doing that, because I'm not interested in clamshells. So maybe you get to here and you're like, oh, you know what? I don't like the drawing, and I'm going to pick something else. It doesn't really work with the bottom half. But luckily I've only done a little bit, so now I could say, yeah, I'm going to abandon this, and I think I'm going to, this looks like a ballerina tutu or something, like the end of it. And if I'm going to do a ballerina tutu, the way that I did this right now, I didn't leave myself enough space to draw it here, so I'm going to have to move it down. So I'm going to abandon this drawing. I'm just going to erase it. You guys have a big eraser in your kit, so like I can just erase this. I'm not going to do it all now, and then I can play with it in a different place. So if I'm going to make it a ballerina tutu instead, then maybe I want to make it like this. I can also even just play with composition and be like, okay, maybe the ballerina is going to fit. The tutu skirt is like going to go here somehow, and then the figure is going to have to fit here. And maybe I'll want to look up a picture of a ballerina or something, because I really don't know of a ballerina pose. Maybe I get to here and I'm like, oh, I don't have enough room for the legs. I'm going to scoot it up. I'm going to try do like a loose drawing again. But once I'm like into that, then I go through with the same thing. And I try to trace every single line again so I know where to line it up. And then I say, yeah, I like the ballerina skirt much better. Much better. I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to draw the figure of the person in here. So now I can kind of continue that. And once I start getting a little more settled in it and I get this outline done, this is going to take some time because remember, this is a large assessment. So this is a project. So I'm giving you a couple days on this one. This is not a one-nighter. So once I get kind of confident with my layout, then I'm going to go back. I'm going to, and I honestly, I wouldn't be completely confident at this point because I would want to see what I could turn this into, maybe the bottom of the tutu. I would still have to play with it to kind of see how I can connect this. But once I get comfortable with it, then I'm going to flip it, add the glue to the back, line it back up where it's supposed to go, glue it down, and then I'm going to finish my line drawing, and then once I have my line drawing finished, then I'm going to go ahead and start shading. You can, I don't think I mentioned this before, I'll try to mention it again in class tomorrow, you can and should use picture references. So go on Google, like I'm struggling to decide exactly what this ballerina pose should look like now. So I'm going to need to go online and actually find, like, where does this shoulder sit? I can't just make this up, like from my head, and end up thinking I'm going to be very successful. So I'm going to go and I'm going to look for something on Google to kind of help me with the details of this particular pose. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know.